Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
CrossCulture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen, your broadcast host of Global TV Talk Show, and today is May 31, 2021. And it's basically the start of the summer season here in California. Our special guest today is in Bangalore, India. Hello, Pri, and welcome.
Hi, Ed. Thank you again for having me on the show.
I'm really happy to do this. I think this is our fourth show together.
Absolutely. I'm so happy to be here. And just as you said, we are at the beginning of summer. And in India, we are right in the middle of the mango season. So it's been, it's been surreal, to be honest, because with the mango season and with spring, we had our second wave of the pandemic, which was devastating, to be honest. But in the topic of today's discussion, which is about intercultural building cross-cultural bridges and about Indian culture, I just wanted to begin today's discussion by saying that this pandemic has truly brought about some of the best qualities and sensitivities of the Indian people. I think everywhere, wherever the government may have faltered in its help, the people of India came together, whether it was financial assistance for those who didn't have the money, whether it's for medical aid, whether it is, for food. I think Indian people really stepped up their game. And I'm so proud to say that I'm really proud to be a volunteer in this effort, in this pandemic effort. And at least for Bangalore, Ed, we are far better now. By end May, we are beginning to see a dip in the infection, and you can feel a certain preparation in the air. And I come to the when I say preparation, I speak in the context of employment or the corporate world in Bangalore. So as you know, that the vaccination drive has begun in India for the age group of 18 to 45, which is comprises of the main group of assignees or IT assignees that are going to travel soon. So in Bangalore, IT companies, whether it's Infosys or Wipro or HCL or Oracle, they have organized vaccination drives within their campus for all their employees. And they are getting ready to completely vaccinate their employees by end of July, beginning of August. What does that mean? It means that by just before fall, Indian assignees will be ready to travel again. So
that's great. Great. So you are in charge of building global partnerships for HELMA International. And HELMA has recently gone through a transformation, right?
Correct.
Tell us about it, please.
So HELMA began literally in the garage of my previous CEO, Guilain de Rangervais, in Paris. And it was meant to be an immigration boutique firm. From that, it grew, and Guilain opened offices in Germany, China, and in India. I joined HELMA in 2009, so it's my 13th year in this company. And what a journey it has been, to be honest. I have grown with the company. So from immigration, we have moved on to relocation, advisory services, and outbound services, where we work with Indian clients and help them identify partners globally, coordinate with these partners whenever they need to send their assignees abroad. Of late, as you said, we were acquired by a moving company in France called Sigmuller. And I am quite glad that it was another French company, because the culture of the company remained the same. There was not a lot of turbulence in the acquisition, because it was a family owned company to another family owned company within the French environment. And I'm very glad to continue the journey with HELMA, because our new CEO is not only client centric, but he's also very employee satisfaction centric. And he puts a lot of emphasis on what employees need, what they want, what are our pain points in new technologies, in innovation services. And so I'm really excited to be part of this new journey of HELMA. So this has been, we are in the transition period, Ed, and what a transition period it has been, right in the middle of the pandemic. So we've had to adjust very quickly to not only the environment around us, the business scene, but also our colleagues within the organization.
So everything is virtual. Someday you'll get together.
Yes, everything is virtual. We have met all our new colleagues virtually. We have had to adapt to not seeing our colleagues every day. So it's virtual. And the services, Ed, because in global mobility, we are now doing home search with virtual, property visits, or we are doing move management, where we are doing a survey which is done virtually without the person actually visiting the house. So yes, a lot of it has become virtual, even in immigration, Ed. I must say that especially when we work with Indian clients, and that again is very much part of the Indian culture, they appreciate face-to-face meetings. Relationship building plays a very big role in gaining client confidence, and that comes with face-to-face meetings.
So
But
this
this,
is all about what you're into, cultural bridges, building bridges.
correct, exactly. So we've won new clients, and we've had to introduce them to not only our internal teams but our external partners, all virtually. And there can be stress points. How do you work with people who are completely new, that you don't meet face to face? And I have to say that whether it is Zoom or whether it has been design thinking tools, it has helped us really build a relationship online successfully.
So that
And
means, like, for instance, when you and I finally meet in person,
yes,
we're going to be
absolutely, and it will be just
wonderful. It'll be wonderful. Yeah.
like old friends. We'll just go for a walk in Venice Beach in California or in
Yeah.
Bangalore.
Yeah.
And
Well, and we'll bring studio on too, right?
yes, we'll bring Stuti on, and yes, it will be as if we've known each other a long time, because we have. We have come closer with the virtual meetings.
Yeah, so in the past, when I was doing some live meetings in Paris,
Mhm.
HELMA had consistently been involved in
Yes.
the audience or speaking. So I'm, of course, happy for that, and
Yes.
would like to have that go forward, of course, when that ever happens. So,
Hopefully sooner than later.
yeah. So,
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergey Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together, we're researchers, writers, and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
So tell me about how you're building bridges now.
Okay, so in cross-cultural training ends, let's say pre-pandemic time, we were conducting training. There were two types. One for expatriates who are coming to India, and they are specifically CEOs or VIP assignees. And we were trying to sensitize them to the Indian corporate culture for the main assignee and the Indian culture for his spouse and dependents. So this was a
Mm.
typical program where we would talk about how to work with Indians, the do's and don'ts, the expectations, written communication, especially when you send office emails out, what can be taken as an escalation, what is taken badly, verbal communication. For the spouses, we would focus on interacting during social gatherings, at shop or in daily life. So this was for expats coming to India. Then we developed a similar program for Indian assignees going to work abroad. And during one of these training, um, I was interrupted by one of the assignees, and he simply said, "You know what, ma'am? We are quite aware of the intercultural sensitivities. Let's say, in France, when we will travel to France, because our colleagues have spoken about it. We have had e-learning programs about it. But what I really don't know is how to use the washing machine, or
Yeah.
how to navigate the lease agreement." And that is
Yeah.
that it struck me that the training required for Indian junior and mid-level assignees had to be completely different from the one we were doing for expats. So we changed our our training program and called it survival guide, because at the end what the Indian assignees needed were life skills and life lessons. Several of these assignees may not have ever traveled abroad before, or they have traveled to US. So, Ed, in Indian television, we see a lot of American sitcoms that gives us an idea, or a look into the
Right.
houses in US, the hotels in US, the cars, the buses, and then they are sent suddenly to Paris, and it's completely different. It's a total cultural shock. So often, just to give you a small example, one of the things is the space in the apartment, the surface area, the square footage. In America, the hotel rooms are much bigger, even for temporary accommodation. In Paris, they are very small, sometimes 11 square meters. Yes. The elevators are so small that you cannot go up with more than one suitcase at a time. There is not so much of it's self-service hotels. So what happens is, when assignees land up in European countries, Indian assignees, sometimes they might think they're getting a bad deal, that the relocation agency has done a bad job, or the temporary accommodation team gave them a bad deal. So this training was actually helping them to acclimatize and to understand what is how is life in Paris or in Germany or in Belgium, the size of the apartments, public transportation. Another example for Germany, that is garbage segregation. There are 4 garbage bins in Germany, and we had to train them on that, because on a daily basis, these are the small things that stresses assignees out. And similarly, we found out, especially for field consultants, who were our field consultants in these countries, and those who were running temporary accommodation service apartments, they found this training very useful, because they wouldn't understand why Indian assignees would put on the thermostat at full during winter months and not wear a sweater indoors. Because in India, we don't wear sweater indoors. Even in the coldest winter in north of India, we put the thermostat at 24 degrees Celsius, and just wear a t-shirt. A lot of the assignees don't realize that that really hikes up the bill. And then they have a dispute with the temporary accommodation owner that they don't want to pay the bill. And things like kitchens, because in India, everything is granite top. In Europe, it is wooden countertop. So if you put something hot, the whole countertop can get burnt. So these are small, small but important, and which have a big monetary impact, especially when, when they have to do, when it's time for departure services, when they have to get the security deposit back. Oh, then you have the confrontation with the landlord about these things, which can really increase the cost to company. So we created 2 training programs. One, to sensitize the assignees on surviving, and the other to sensitize both the field consultants and temporary accommodation teams on understanding Indian assignees. Because you see, Indian assignees, you a consultant who tells them here is the oven and this is how you have to use it, this is a cooking range, it means very little, Ed, because in India we don't cook our food in oven. Oven is rarely used. I mean, for our traditional cooking, we rarely use the oven. So these are things that I learned through my travels in Europe, that I took a note, things that surprised me. For instance, yes.
So typically, how is a meal produced? Is it stovetop or is it a microwave?
So it's a stovetop with a gas cylinder. We often use pressure cookers, which, by the way, if you use in the US, the fire alarm goes on. So you have to just stand there with a cloth, to just, move away, wave away the smoke. So I know it sounds funny, but these are absolutely practical tips that have a huge monetary impact at the end. And the toughest thing that we have faced is to convince HR managers or procurement teams to pay for these training sessions. And we keep telling them that you think that this is a high-end service, but it isn't, because this service will at the end save you a lot of money that you don't realize is being lost.
It's totally practical.
Yes, it's
right.
Practical. And these are things that you cannot learn through e-learning, standard questionnaire programs.
So is it also part of the training that you inform the property owner or the manager about Indian foods and the spices and the aroma, and are they going to be welcoming?
Okay, so we don't do training directly for property owners, Ed, but we do the training for the agent who will be coordinating with the property owner. And we explain to the agent, look, in India, first, we have closed kitchen with a ventilator fan, which may not be the case in that apartment. Second, we don't have floor-to-floor carpeting, and we can keep the windows open throughout the year, even in winter months. So the smell or the fragrance of the food goes out. Indians don't understand the concept of the food aroma sticking to furniture or to the carpet. It's completely new to us, because for us, ventilation is so easy to get. We don't have such extreme temperatures. So that's that. If you're in California and then you're sent to Montana, you understand it's a big difference.
I refuse the assignment.
So it's a bit like that. So we try to explain the agent how to pass on this message to the landlord, because there are landlords, and you're right, who have a bias or prejudice against Indian assignees. And I think the cross-cultural training helps both parties, really.
It's so fascinating. So,
Yes.
do you make video clips and send it around, or do you have to tell everybody the same story over and over again?
So what we did is we tied up with EURA, the European Relocation Association, and we did this training. I did this training for all relocation companies who are working with Indian assignees. And this is recorded on YouTube, Ed, and people can watch it. However, we enhance it when we do a one-to-one training where people can actually ask their doubts, um, and we can clarify it, or we check emails and we correct it. Long emails is something that Indians are not comfortable with. We are a listen and understand culture. So most Indians prefer a phone call rather than a lengthy email. And this is just a historical or cultural habit that we've had since, 300 BC. So we are truly a hear, listen and learn culture, and this is something that can be useful to field consultants so that they don't like long emails. It's true.
This is
Has been
delightful.
helpful. The thing is that the only way that we know it's helpful, because we have received such positive feedback, both from the assignees and our peers from the industry, saying that it has been helpful. So this is one of the cultural things that we have done both pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. What we are doing now, Ed, is what you said earlier, is that we are having meetings with new clients.
Hmm.
And before we have the meeting between our partner and the client, or our colleague in France or China and our client, I do a quick training on Indian culture with our colleague or partner, and separately with our client on that country's culture, so that by the time they come to a meeting all together, everyone is sensitized to the reactions and communication of the other culture. And this goes a long way, because we are working in a time where everything is so flux. Communication has to be really top of the line, because information is changing so quickly. I mean, Malaysia was allowing people, and then Malaysia goes into lockdown. If you are not communicating fast enough or clearly enough, you may have employees stuck at borders. So this cross-cultural training is actually helping us, and we are tweaking it based on the client, the partner, and the country.
So, what about this new app that you have? Does that address this practicality?
Are you talking about the smart expatriation tool?
Yes.
Okay. So the smart expatriation tool is not an intercultural tool. It is a compensation and benefits calculator.
Aha.
What it does, Ed, is that it is not only for assignees, anybody. Let's say you get a job in Fiji Islands, and you would like to know what is the salary that you should ask for from the company there. So this tool allows you to punch in your current salary, your family status, your designation, and then it will punch out the equivalent salary based on cost of living in Fiji, the average salary paid to people of your designation for your family size, what would be your tax deductions, your social security deductions, and what will be your take home. So it gives the opportunity to employees to have this information so that they can negotiate better when they go for international assignments. And it gives opportunity for HR managers to have a benchmark when they are proposing a contract, or an employment contract for a French person going to Brazil, for example. So this is a smart expatriation tool. It does not have, it is just a cost of, it's a compensation calculator. Maybe perhaps one day we will put in tips and, information about cross-cultural training. Why not? Because it is of essence in the success of of an assignment.
So does part of your practical teaching help uh, people understand dealing with the police? You know, if you have any law enforcement, because in every country it's different, but um, it's a big issue here.
Correct. So to be honest, we have not included dealing with the police as a separate segment, but this is a good idea. Perhaps we should. We, however, have a segment on dealing with authorities. For instance, if there's a medical emergency, if somebody is mugged, if you find yourself, for example, which is what happened during the pandemic, suddenly stuck in a country in the middle of a pandemic and you don't know whether you can go out for groceries or not, those helpful numbers. So we have focused on duty of care, what we say, duty of care numbers. But yes, this is a very good idea because we can think about enforcement. Because let's say how in India the relationship we have with the police might be very different from how the French have a relationship with the police, or the Americans have the relationship with the police. And if race plays a role in it, because one of the things that we tell our peers or colleagues who are receiving Indian assignees is that Indian assignees, like any assignee, comes in with apprehensions to a new country. And especially because of the color of our skin, we are very aware that we look different. If an Hungarian is coming to Paris, it's quite different than an Indian coming to Paris, because we believe, and it may not be true, but we believe that we stand out. And therefore, there is a fear of racism or a fear of, fear of being lost. So one has to address these fears, especially if you are a consultant who is receiving Indian assignees. So this is something we do address. And we also address the fact that a lot of Indian assignees are men and a lot of field consultants are women who are talking about very domestic, domestic points like the kitchen or the bathroom or the linen or the laundry. So there might be some awkwardness there that has to be addressed. So yes, we broach those subjects.
A difficult job, but it's so practical.
Yes, so that is why we call it a practical guide. And I find that this helps assignees address certain fears. And the new thing that we have introduced, Ed, is a focus on spouses and children. So just to give you an example, I will just give an example of Canada, for instance. By the time a child goes to kindergarten and is 4 years old, the child should be able to tie his shoelaces, put his own jacket, have his own lunch by himself. So there are certain criteria. These criteria does not exist necessarily in India or in all Indian kindergartens. So a 4-year-old Indian child may be able to recite the entire alphabet, or the focus may be on education, but maybe a little less on life skill because that is done by the mother still. And this is something that young moms who have just relocated have difficulty training their children on, because in India, again, the focus is on academics from a very young age. Let's say in a country like Canada or Switzerland, it is on adaptability to the environment, on being independent as a child. So these are things that we now train young dependents, so that they are prepared at least 4 or 5 months in advance, so that they have enough time to work with their children on these aspects. Because there have been instances where kindergartens have refused children of Indian assignees because they do not have um the necessary, how do I say, the necessary skills that they are looking for.
So I have to ask just direct questions. So in India, Indian moms, young moms, do they have resentment for having to do all this uh, teaching work to their kids, or they love it, it's just part of their life and they don't want it to change?
I think Indian moms, I don't know. From what I know about Jewish culture, I think Indian moms are like Jewish moms. So that is their first and only job, is to be a mom. And anything to make life easier and more enjoyable for the children, they will go that extra mile. Even if that means that they have a full-time job, they will be juggling those two roles perfectly. So I mean, again, to come back to this, the current environment of the pandemic, it has really pushed Indian moms to their maximum, because they have had to manage their homes, the children are at home, their full-time jobs, and they have done a phenomenal work. So yes, Indian moms, yeah, like Jewish moms, I would say.
Exactly.
And as long as they're
And,
fed well, the food,
and,
oh,
and,
that
it
plays a very big role.
and it never ends.
Yes, it never ends.
So here's chicken soup for the soul. And
Yes,
so,
it's chicken soup for the soul. That is true. So
well, this
yes,
has been delightful. What else should we talk about here?
no. So I think, when you say building bridges, there is a new how do I say? There is a new thought process or a new department in companies, and now we even discussed this recently in the Spring Summit at URA. Is diversity, inclusion, and equity.
Yeah, what's this mean to you?
So I read this interesting article about how do you best explain diversity and inclusion. I mean, equity is easy to explain because it's equal opportunities for everyone. But how do you explain diversity and inclusion? So it said that diversity is inviting people to the party. Inclusion is asking them to dance. And
And
I
that
found
and,
that.
and that means belonging.
Yes. So it's one thing to have it on paper that, it's a really good thing. And it's important that you have people from diverse educational backgrounds, races, and gender. But that's not enough. You have to make sure that their voices are heard and they're included in
So
different decision-making process.
this is the reincarnation, if you will, about the Me Too movement. Me Too.
Yes. Yes, in a greater sense. And I think thanks to diversity, culture is playing a very important role. And again, when you said, because of the pandemic, there is cost optimization. Companies want cost optimization. And unfortunately, one of the services that they are writing off, at least for the till the pandemic lasts, is cross-cultural training. And that's just sad, because the shock of moving to a new country in the middle of a pandemic where things are flux is more needed now than it was before. And I
So,
don't,
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to just say something which may be stupid, but but I was going to say that it's the sea level that's stupid, because this cross-cultural training is all about international relations and corporate relations and people relations. And that's part of the culture. That's part of the brand a company needs in the post-pandemic. era, that they care and they understand, not get rid of it.
Correct. But I don't know if it's always a C-level decision, or the decision is taken by procurement, or sometimes they have to make a choice between. It's a hard choice to make. I understand that, but I really think this series that HELMA has brought about, the Practical Guide series, has been truly a hit. And this is something, at least I see, going a long way. Whether we add, new tools to enhance the training, but this is something that is useful, especially now, because we will see a lot of temporary housing requests, because there will be quarantines. It will continue for a while. So people are not going to directly move into a house. It's possible 14 days they will stay in temporary housing before they find a house. And as long as there is a huge demand for temporary housing, the practical guide is important, because the assignee will be moving at least 2 or 3 times their accommodation. And they will be meeting different types of people, the different types of landlord, different types of apartment. A service apartment experience is totally different than an Airbnb, or staying in a house. So this practical guide, I think we've truly found an unique training module that is still relevant.
We've been talking with Priyamvada. Did I say that right?
Yes, absolutely.
You're being kind to me. And so I thank you, and I thank HELMA International for being on Global TV. And please come back, and please circle that date, June 25, for the Global Voices of Change. And what we're talking about just now, this practical guidance, is part of corporate branding, part of corporate culture, and how it relates to the international business community. Needed now more than ever.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Ed. And thank you for having me. It was a pleasure speaking about one of the topics that I'm so passionate about.
Peace.
And hope to see you soon.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.